I mean,
We're going live
okay.
right now.
I mean, wait. So are we live? All right. So for those of you who are watching, I'm Kevin, also known as Furious, and I'm here with Butane. So we'll be your commentators for the semifinals of NYC versus Australia, and we'll be covering the NYC side, consisting of these four players: Thursday, McLeod, Pio, and Amy Haiku.
Yes.
So me and Butane, well, we go way back. I think I was the one who first introduced Butane to Mahjong back when we were in Baltimore. And since then, he's gotten quite good at the game, much better than I have, in fact.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say anything of the sort.
Although I would say Butane's still weak against Papa John's, because the first time me and Butane played, we ordered Papa John's and he did very poorly. So we can conclude that to beat Butane, we just need to order Papa John's. So
Why Chambo when Papa John's came?
yes, so for all you, this isn't an advertisement for Papa John's, but we should just get pizza every time we play together, Butane.
Yeah, but not Papa John's. If someone brings
Okay.
Little Caesars.
Little Caesars isn't even that good of a pizza, though.
I guess. I mean, I've been in New York recently, so.
Yeah. So about these rules, these rules are Riichi Mahjong with Akaari, which means red fives on. Otherwise, pretty standard stuff. Starting points will be 25,000 with a return of 30,000. So head bump will be off. Yakuman stacking on. Condor will be flipped immediately. The UMA will be 30, 10, -10, and -30. So in other words, that's 30 points for first place, 10 points for second place, -10 points for third place, and -30 points for fourth place. So, and the top two in 3 Hanchan will advance on to the final. So these players have to make the best of these 3 Hanchan.
Yep. So we're watching the New York's top 4 play for the two spots to go against the best 2 of Arma, and the finals will be tomorrow morning if you're in the US. And currently, our 4 semifinalists are Claire, also known as Thursday, founder of the Riichi New York Club, and an amazing
also
player
known as Kanye West on.
Yes, also known as Kanye Nishi or Kanye Sha. I haven't heard clarification on what her preferred reading is, but yeah, she's a pretty skilled player. Plays a lot of ladder and Riichi Out, which is a club-based league. Plays a lot, has played a lot of IRL tournaments, and is generally a very experienced player with over close to a decade or more of play experience. So that's quite a lot. Our second player is Pio, longtime member of the New York Club, and someone whom I've had the pleasure of meeting in person in Japan for the first time over the winter. Pio is a very interesting and aggressive tournament player, easily one of the greediest players in the club, and definitely someone who is well suited to pull out the big hands and the big wins needed to succeed in this format.
Yep, the big wins will be important here.
Mm-hmm. So the next player we have is Mike McLeod. Mike is an NYC player by birthright, currently living in beautiful Toronto, Canada. Mike is another experienced player with years and years under his belt, and someone who we're definitely going to look out for, an extremely formidable, strong player. And I've never had the pleasure of meeting him in person, so I can't say much more. And our final contestant, our final semifinalist is actually one of the newest members of the Riichi Mahjong Riichi no New York Club, Amy Haiku. Amy comes in. I think she is a future resident of New York. I'm not sure if she's here yet. Things are all up in the air. But I heard that Amy is a very new player who is up and coming, studying very hard, has a very positive attitude towards the game, and how she'll play against three players who are undeniably much more seasoned than her will be will be something that we'll look forward to seeing. I think she's coming in as an underdog, and I think there's always a kind of romanticism in cheering for the underdog. So go Amy, and we're looking forward to seeing one of her first public debuts in competitive play. And yeah, it's going to be a great matchup for everyone involved. And sorry, there is a cat in front of me, and I am petting and rubbing her belly, and it's extremely distracting from uh, talking about Mahjong. Oh, she's yawning now.
Well, we'll see what these four players can do. I will add, though, to Butane's excellent description, Mike McLeod has been known to have a very high rate of getting Yakuman, and I'm not saying this from experience because he hit me with the dealer Yakuman when I had something like a 50,000 point lead. So that's one thing to look out for. We'll see if he can get any of that Yakuman luck during these three Hanshots. But yeah, looks to be a pretty exciting game, and we should be able to start shortly. Do we know the status of when these matches will start? Will it be in about 5 minutes or so?
Yep, just a couple more minutes to go. We're getting ready here.
Okay, yeah, and okay, this is not the. Let's. Okay. So, Butane, who do you think has the best chance to make the top two out of these four players?
Oh my gosh! I mean, it's gonna be really hard to say. I think we
Yeah.
have we have such an amazing lineup of players, and I would not be able to be confident in saying anybody in particular is going to be making it in for sure. I mean, mahjong is also just such a you know it's also just such a temperamental game, right? And you could be
Yeah.
the best player and still have like three horrible games. So
Yep.
we'll
And
we'll really have to see.
we should be starting in roughly 3 minutes or so. Yeah. Especially with three Hanchan. With three Hanchan, it's quite a short game, so anything can happen. Hopefully we'll see some exciting stuff. And I mean that's the enjoyable part of Mahjong, the fact that any anything can happen. Sometimes the tires just go the way you want, and sometimes you do everything you can, but it still just backfires on you. All right. Should be roughly about 3 minutes left. So, Butane, with this format, do you think it's better to aim for big first or to sort of try to keep a nice first and second balance?
Well, I think because second is basically going to be close to being plus minus zero in almost all circumstances, going for the first is really your only source of income. And so the most important thing in this format is to actually get the first place. Um, And getting a big first versus a little first, I mean, as long as you're getting the first places and locking the other players out of the first place, you're basically going to be doing really well. And so I would say that guaranteeing yourself the first place is much more important than anything else.
Right, and I forgot to mention, but there's also a 20k Oka, so a first will put you further ahead. But on the other side, the fact that the UMA 30 and negative 30 means that even fourth is not the end of the world. It's not basically I'm out of this completely.
Exactly. And
So
you know,
so should we expect to see more aggressive play or the typical nice balancing of offense and defense with avoiding fourth place?
I think we'll be seeing some a strong offense, but
Mhm.
also balanced with a very keen defense. Because
Right.
one of the easiest ways of losing your lead is to deal into others or to become so passive that you allow others to win their hands, right? So being able to get your point income secured while preventing others from making their points is, finding that balance is going to be necessary in this format.
Right. And I think that's one of the main differences between, say, a tournament and ladder play. Whereas ladder play, it's more of a sort of people have this idea that's, oh, you have to avoid fourth place at all costs. Whereas in a tournament, sometimes having a second place or a third place basically doesn't really mean anything.
Exactly.
All right. And we should be starting in roughly 15 seconds.
Very exciting. I can already hear, so Claire's in the other room playing, and she's on the voice chat with the game table. And judging from some of the sounds that I've heard, it seems like the game is already starting out to be extremely exciting. So a lot of things to look forward to.
All right. Well, great. So game's
Yeah.
about to begin, and let's see how these four players will fare in these three Hanchan. All right, so starting off, we have Amy in the dealer seat as the East Wind, Pio in the South Sea, Thursday in the West Sea, and McLeod in the North Seat.
Yes. So this is going to be a very interesting.
So the Dora is the White Dragon or Haku, currently only one copy in the dealer Amy's hand. Pio calls pawn immediately on the East Wind, which is a Yakuhai.
Yeah,
And
Pio's already Ishan 10, which is great because Amy. Oh, Pio is now
he
10-5
hits Tempai on
on the
6
6
and
9
9
spin.
dots.
Yeah.
So there's 1 9 pin in the discards, and but Amy the dealer also hits Tempai
And
on a
calls the
1 4
Riichi as
solo.
well.
So
Pio's already Tenpai, but Pio has very little in the way of safe tiles. He switches his way over quite cleverly to 4-7. So Amy and Pio now have overlapping winning tiles. Mike McLeod holds many of them in his hand, and Claire has drawn another one. So now we see all of the 4 and 2 of the 1 so's. So for Amy, there are only 2 tiles left. For Pio, there are 3 tiles live, one of which is in Claire's hand and does not look like it will come out anytime soon. But otherwise, we're actually looking at a fairly
and
close and even, 2 tiles versus 2 tiles. Uh, you know, um,
and oh, okay. So Claire also reaches Tempai on 5 8 dots. And Pio would have drawn his weight if he had swapped to the 8 mon, but he would have also dealt in with if he had dealt the 4
yeah.
sticks. Right now,
So Claire reaches a very hard decision point,
and
and
deals
was
in.
Tenpai, but she deals in. Fortunately, it's Riichi Nomi with no Ura. Amy misses the Ura by 1. If it was a 3 on the indicator, she would have had Ura 3. But,
which would have
yeah,
been a
so
monster hand.
yeah, so Amy wins a Richinomi, the namesake hand of Richinomi NYC, and
Oh,
takes the first win. And starts
Amy
out with another
with a
great hand,
fantastic hand
a
here.
fantastic hand, 1 away from Tenpai, Ishan 10, for Dora 3, with great shapes. This hand is truly
Oh,
something.
oh, but the North pair dies immediately,
The North
so
pair is gone immediately. So yeah, you're right. It's gonna be hard for her to get the Tenpai and win her hand now. Half of her weights are dead unless she can just magically draw one of the last 2 Wanmons out of the wall. But I wouldn't put it past Amy. Well, Mike McLeod draws one of the
yeah,
Wanmons, so there's
one
only
mon.
one
So there's
left
only one. So
in the
the
wall.
and the other problem with that hand is that the one mon is the Dora, so players are more likely to hold on to it to add value to their hand. And yep, Amy looks like she's breaking the pair of the Norths and trying to make some other sort of shape with her hand.
Yeah, so
Because this,
Amy, no.
oh yeah, this is a dealer Mongon, so I would say definitely this is a hand you want to win and a hand you will probably push to the end.
Yeah, she took a step back from 1 Ishanten to 2
Oh,
Shanten to try and fish for
but
some
there's
better
the
hands.
reaches Tenpai first on a 2-5 so wait. All the 5 souls are trapped in other players' hands, and there's only 2 live 2 so. One 2 so is in Amy's hand, and Mike Cloud has discarded one of the 2 so. So it's not as good of a way as it appears. Oh, and now Amy has a
Unfortunately,
decision.
Amy has a very hard decision to make.
The
Extremely
5.
hard. I think I would push the 9 so. Oh wow, she's going straight for it.
Yeah,
She wants the potential E2, which is good and bad at the same time. Actually, holding on to the E2 would deal her in.
yes. I don't see
She's
how you
thinking
can
about
make this
G'ing for the.
Itsu. Oh,
Oh, that's unfortunate.
if she had
She passes the G. Very interestingly.
I think the problem here is that if you chi here, you basically have a 1-4-7 so weight, whereas the 4 so and the 7 so don't give you any Yaku.
Exactly. That's a big problem.
So if you're cheating this hand, you basically have to win on the one so or the bird. So there's one so in the discards and 2 in Pio's hand. So whereas basically there are a good amount of Sozu tiles that will get you to Tenpai from this shape.
That is also certainly true. We'll see what she draws for Tenpai.
Oh, there goes one of the one souls, so there's only 2 one soul left from Amy's perspective. And that is a very dangerous tile to the Riichi.
A very dangerous tile to the Riichi, but she pushes forward anyways. She wants her Tenpai, and why wouldn't you? This is such a great hand that you were dealt. Such
Yeah.
unfortunate that it hasn't advanced much since the beginning.
Amy not being able to get that is not one of the Sozu tiles that will. Oh, but she gives it up. Probably thinking that, well, there's only 6 discards left, and I get maybe 1-2 draws at the very most. So I'm just going to give up this hand.
Wrong.
2 dots comes out of McLeod's hand. Okay. Pio reaches Tenpai, but he deals it immediately.
And it's a big hand. Ura 2.
Oh, and it hits 2 Ura from Mangon.
Yes. As we all know, Claire's favorite Yaku in the game is Ura 3. And so while this is not Claire's favorite, this is we can say that Claire got close to winning one of her favorite hands.
All right. The Dora is now 5 pin, which means there's a double Dora, and that's currently in Claire's hand. The double 5 pin Dora. The dealer Pio here, he has a choice. He can try to aim for Chanta here, but he draws the door. Would you aim for Chanta here, Butane?
I think that this hand depends on how badly you want to win this hand. I think in this format, because there are so many reds in the in the middle tile, and the 5 pin is the Dora by itself, Chanta is not a very strong hand here. It's very likely to get you in some serious trouble because you're not able to use any of the 7 Dora in the game. And so I would suggest that building this hand normally and just trying to go for a Riichi is more effective than opening for Chanta here.
Right, and I think the other but Pio draws one of the key tiles for Chanta, but he throws it away. So yeah, I think he's trying to make better shapes. Because the other thing besides Chanta that I see is 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku. Well, the 2 mon gets pwned by Amy. Trying to cash in on her pair of Dora. Oh, but Pio draws the last 2 mon. Meanwhile, Clara with her 3 Dora, her hand is not advancing that quickly. Looks to be a 2 Shanten. She's keeping an east, I assume, as a safe tile. Oh, and Amy reaches Tenpai on 6 mon and 5 pin. And it pays off immediately for Tanya Tudora. All right, so nice Tanya Tudora hand from Amy. And now the Dora is once again. There's a double Dora out there, 5-so, one of which is red. That's currently in Amy's hand. The dealer, Clara, has just drawn a Dora. And she could possibly go for Honitsu here, depending on how she wants to play this hand and what kind of draw she gets.
Yes, this hand is a very interesting hand, but really only each on 10. The Dora is again going to be the hard part to use here.
Well, what do you think of calling for Honitsu for this hand, Butane?
Well, I think it'd be hard to call for Honitsu. You'd be calling for Chinitsu, and with 4 tiles, it'd be extremely difficult, especially it being the Dora suit. People are probably going to be hanging onto those tiles. So I think that it would probably not be a great idea.
Okay. But would you call a 4-so?
Oh, wow. I don't think I would call a 4-so. I don't think I'd call anything with this hand.
You try to aim for yes, but the problem is even if you do get Ipeko in 1, 2, 3 with this hand, you have to contend with the Dora somehow.
Yes, but I think otherwise you don't really have a Yaku. I think your best chances without calling, what I would do is either look to pair more things up, such as pairing up a 6-7 pin, or ideally the Dora, and pivoting over to a Chitoi, or just waiting for the Riichi are the best bets. Otherwise, it's gonna take too long. You're already on the 10th discard, and there just isn't that much time left to change up the hand.
Meanwhile, Amy's in Tenpai on 2-5 mon with her double red 5 Dora, so it will be Tanya 2 Dora if it wins.
Oh, quite a vicious, and
the dealer pairs up her Dora. Okay.
Yeah. So now this is a hard decision point. Do you want to go for the Ipeko or do you want to go for Chitoi? And she's using up all her time. Very reasonable, and I agree with her choice. She is not taking the Chitoi. She is taking the Ipeko, maximizing the value of her weight. But unfortunately,
she draws
okay. That tile will deal in for 3,900 points right now. But by not throwing it, then Mike McLeod has sacrificed himself.
Mike McLeod draws it first, but yes, I assume that if Thursday drew a tile that advanced her hand, she would throw out her 2-mon for 3,900 into Amy. Okay, meanwhile,
So we're now switching
it's
over to watching Mike's hand as the dealer in East 4. However, if you saw a glimpse of it, and you can still kind of see, Claire's hand this turn is insanely vicious. She has 3 Dora in her hand, and the ability to pawn the Dora pair for Yakuhai Dora 3. So her hand is looking to be at least a Mongon, if not a Hanuman, with the pickup of any more Dora. So a very vicious hand with pretty decent shapes coming out of Claire, our dealer from last hand. And Mike McLeod, similarly, having some okay shapes going in that are continuing to be filled up quite nicely.
Yeah, it's always a great feeling when you have a pair of the Dora and it's a Yakuhai, because that means you have a lot more flexibility with how you want your hand shape to progress. However, there isn't a single Haku anywhere. It hasn't appeared so far, so hopefully we'll have to see what happens once someone draws it. Do they hold on to it or do they deal it immediately? And Mike McLeod has a decision here. Okay, and he decides to get rid of the 9-mon, which I think is a fine decision because the only tires that help you there are 8-mon and 9-mon. And you have an Ipeko chance with the Pinzu.
Yeah. Well, so Michael Cloud building up into a pretty great Ishanten shape with the good opportunities to swap over to better shapes as well. Claire balancing her 7 pairs Ishanten with also good shapes to call. And you bet you that she will call the Dora if it gets dropped. Yeah, the hands are progressing very well.
Riichi です。
So we come back to.
Sorry for the delay, folks. There was some sort of technical difficulties with the stream.
So we come back at just the right time. Amy taking a Riichi on a Suji trap wait.
Yep, so Suji trap essentially means that it's 2 away from one of the tiles. So, for example, here it's 3-mon, so it's 369 on the Suji. So it means that basically the weight that you have isn't a 2-sided weight, so you can't have a 4-5-mon waiting on 3-6. Oh, and she draws the Dora. Okay.
Yes.
And it gets pwned immediately.
Riichi on the 1-4 pin. Claire is now Tenpai on the 2-5 mon. And it's just a mess here, folks. It is absolutely just a mess here.
And McLeod does not want to deal that 6, so it's a very dangerous tile. Oh, but he deals it anyway.
He does it for the Tenpai. As dealer, it's reasonable. Unfortunately,
but
Claire draws the 6-mon. However, doesn't know whether she needs to throw it or not. But Mike McLeod can't win on it because he has no Yaku. He was calling just for the Tenpai.
Yep. And it looks like it's...
and it's a high-tay draw.
But this is high-tay.
That gives Yaku.
Is Claire going to deal into high-tay only?
And Claire deals into high-tay only.
Wow.
But it's a double wrong because that was Amy's weight too. Now in this, because of the head bump format, even though head bump is off and you can do double run, Amy loses her Riichi stick to Mike McLeod, and but still makes good money with the 5,200.
Yeah, and that's just one of those cases where it's just a really unfortunate turn of events.
Right. Claire did have a chance actually to throw the 5 mon and not deal in, but it did not look safe at all. While the 3 mon at least was Suji to the 6 mon that had just passed the turn before.
Right.
So what an interesting turn of events.
All right. So the dealer, Mike McLeod, calls pawn immediately on Green Dragon. Dora's 7-pin. There's currently only one 7-pin in. Okay, and he reaches Tempai
He's
in
Tenpai
Mike
on a
McLeod's
6-9
hand.
pin.
6-9
Four of
pin.
which-
Yeah, but there were 4 of them in Pio's hand.
And Pio is now Riichi'd on the 147 pin weight, a very good weight. But I don't think Mike McLeod has much choice. He's gonna just have to press on for now. There isn't this number of safe tiles.
Oh, and Amy draws one of the winning tiles.
Amy draws on the winning tiles. Indeed.
Oh, the Dora. No,
It's
that's
the
an
Dora.
interesting
Well,
choice.
that's actually okay for Mike McLeod because Mike McLeod
Yeah.
now can just throw the 8-pin. Like those aren't going to come out. And now it's just a battle of who's going to draw it first. Pio can also
Right.
win on the 4 pins, so it's a much he has the advantage. But Mike McLeod is the dealer with a spooky hand, and there are still 2 7-pins in the wall, and that's 2 chances for Mike McLeod to draw himself a dirty 4,000 all.
Yep. 1 pins are unfortunately completely sealed away in Thursday and Amy's hands.
Yep. So if Mike
So the
draws
one,
it, he's
so the 147 pin weight is not as good as it looks at first glance.
the 147 pin weight is exactly 1 tile better than the other one. Pio's advantage is exactly 1 tile currently because
Right.
there are 2 in Amy's hand.
Oh, and he has a
Mike
chance to
McLeod's
con.
going to
Yes, he's going to con. Oh.
Oh,
New Dora is south, which is
south. Immediately dropped by Pio. Oh, and Mike
and
McLeod
he
does
finds
it.
it.
It's what you do. You got to con for flow, right? Conning for flow here. Like, even though that you did not change the draw order by conning because you draw from the end, you draw from the end of the dead wall, right? At like the Vinshan tile. Mike McLeod used the con to increase his flow. And just look at this hand. Beautiful hand. This is another easy 12,000 points.
Right. You have
he's conned himself into a great position.
Right, you have a double East there and 2 Dora, so it looks like a very straightforward dealer Mongon for 12,000.
Very
The
straightforward
Dora's
dealer Mongon, and the tiles are and the hands are developing very well. So many ways to build shapes. This hand it looks like it's gonna win itself, and it's all because he conned the previous turn.
That can definitely be a factor. All right. Meanwhile, the Dora is once again a 5, so that means there's a double red Dora out there, red 5, so it hasn't appeared so far.
Yes, it's still on the wall.
Meanwhile, Mike McLeod still in a very good Ishan 10.
Yeah, I wonder how long he'll keep the 6-mon, or if he'll swap it out at this moment. It's a very hard choice, actually. I think I agree with that move quite a bit.
Oh, and there's a
Unfortunately,
Riichi.
Amy immediately calls Riichi, and Mike McLeod has accidentally hurt himself by.
I think he
Yeah.
deals in on the Ipatsu.
That's just unfortunate. He kept the wrong tile, and it's very reasonable when you have such a good hand like that to not really keep safe tiles because your own hand is so incredibly valuable. But despite the fact that his hand is so valuable, Amy's just
and
It's too
takes the
strong.
lead.
It takes the
Amy
lead.
takes a very strong lead of 12,000. Oh, sorry, 13, 12,800. But yeah, the thing with that hand though, it's a question of whether you want to keep the one pins around because you think they can be pawned easily, or if you want to keep 4 mon and 6 mon around for basically extending into shapes because you can draw 5 mon, 3 mon, 7 mon. All right,
So
Dora.
I think I would have actually preferred to not call like not to just not keep the 6 mon. I would have kept the south because I
Mhm.
don't I think that with the shapes that good, I was 100% willing to call the first 4 pin or 1 pin that came out and just wait on the east. I don't think that's a big problem. I think that kind of Atazuke, finding your Yaku later is a very strong way of completing your hand.
All right.
And that's I would have been willing to do that because other players they when you do that when you pawn something like a 1 pin, people are going to be guessing what your Yaku is, of course, and obviously Yaku high are going to be kind of sketchy. But at the same time,
Mhm.
there are still going to be several live Yaku high out. It could be the East, it could be any of the dragons, and they don't know how much value you have, right? Um, you could have just double East, you could have a Mongon, you could have more, and so if a player has something worth pushing, they might quite easily just take a risk and throw you the double east quite easily. And so I don't think it's a bad way of playing that aggressively at all.
Hmm. That makes sense. Okay. Meanwhile, in this hand, we have 3 players calling furiously to try to get a hand. Dora's one so, but 3 of them have already been discarded. Amy
See,
and McLeod are both in one shot, and so is
Claire's
yes,
also
so is
in
the
Ishanten.
one shot
She's
10, but
thinking
she
about
has.
that call. She's thinking about that call, and it's a call that I think she needs to take. Yeah, and she did the right thing by calling it and just waiting on the
Mhm.
Hatsu here. Her hand is
Yep.
very good for winning on the Hatsu because so far with the 2 pawns, it gives away not so much information, and it makes it look like it could be really anything. And so I
Yeah.
think the Hatsu is easily going to come up for her. No one's going to hold the Hatsu just because they're afraid that it will be able to declare. Amy reaches
Right.
Senpai on just the 2 pin. There is only one out. Sorry, there are 0 out. There's one
Well,
out,
there's
sorry,
one in McLeod's calls.
and then one in Pio's hand. So there are 2 tiles left in the wall for Amy to pick up once
Oh.
someone to drop.
Okay.
And unfortunately,
Oh, and this is a.
Pio is
Yep.
going to drop the 2 pin and deal into Amy for a sick 1,500 points.
Yep. Just extending
So the
her
7 mon was
dealership.
highlighted because it was one of the weights, but unfortunately for Claire, only the Hatsu gave her Yaku, so she was not able to call the Roan, the other side, um, and it came out twice.
All right. So South 1 continues. The Dora is 8 mon, and there is currently only one Dora in Pio's hand.
Yeah.
Mean- Meanwhile, Amy has a pair of Haku. Let's see if she calls this. Okay, she calls
She's going
this.
to call it. She's going to call this for another 1,500 points. With the Honba, it'll be 1,800 points. More importantly,
Mm-hmm.
though, it's going to stop other people from winning their possibly more expensive hands, and it'll give her another chance to build something big. She's already in the lead, so I think for her, her main priorities are making as much money as she can right now, making that cash as she can, as much as she can, and preventing other people from getting big hands on her dealership. But as long as she does that, she'll stay in a good place. We have the other close person is Pio is quite close. Pio is Ishan 10 with his hand. Actually, two Shan 10, but with 2 Dora.
Tushan. Yes.
And
There's a
Claire
chance for a con.
Claire is
Passes on
Ishan
to con.
10 for no 2 Shan 10 for Chitoy. Um, as well as a run-based hand, which she might pursue. Now she's discarding the 7/9 Conchan to hedge her bets with both a run-based hand and a Chitoy 7 pairs based hand. So we'll see how that goes. but no one is super close except for everyone is basically two Shanten.
Yeah, everyone's there, and Amy holding
Except
on
for
to
Mike
the
McLeod, he's a bit behind. His hand is a bit slow.
right. His hand is definitely the slowest hand here. Amy holding on to the Haku, basically trying to defer the decision to Khan till later, depending on how her hand progresses.
Pio, in the meantime, draws into a very nice shape. He can tenpai on quite a number of tiles, building a run either in the upper Manzu or in the mid Pinzu.
Right.
Very
But building
interestingly,
a
Amy does not chi the 3/4 pin here.
hmm,
I think I would have been in a rush and I would have loved to take the 5 pin personally.
might be
But
getting a bit late since it's already close to end of second row.
I agree, but at the same time, as dealer, the value of Tenpai is just so high that I would have taken the step to do it. I mean, this is great for her. She is now Ishanten, and has a very callable hand. It seems like
Yep.
she'll probably go to Tenpai. As for Claire, Claire is drawing into Ishanten now. For Ishanten, a Pinfu, possibly a Dora pickup. And I think at this point I would have conned, but she does not con. She drops the Haku and then immediately pawns the 4 into the Tenpai. And Claire draws on the 6-0, is unable to use it, but defers the decision for later by dropping one of the 4 pins. But we'll see. I'm sure Claire will drop that for Tenpai if she gets there. Pio has set the Tenpai now. It's not a great weight though. The 5 pins are a 1 5-pin and the 8 so's. Instead of reaching, Pio throws the 8 pin back and decides to go for a better weight. Claire unfortunately gets to Tenpai, and because she got to Tenpai, she dealt in.
Yeah,
the
use it immediately. So the round extends.
Oh, will be a repeat of the stop. This hand is it's not going to be very valuable if you do not take it the Honitsu route. And so at this point, I would be cutting the 1 pins and just committing to the Honitsu. Even if it's just Honitsu no Mi, I would have been I would have been very aggressive in calling for this Honitsu. As dealer, just getting to Tenpai is so valuable.
Right. Getting to Tenpai, extending the winning possibly, and extending the round. And so in this rule set, you can't bust here, so there's no danger of basically ending the game earlier by busting PO, who only has 5,200. Meanwhile,
she makes such a good draw. But at
that
the
is
same time, drawing that tile is very interesting because it makes you more willing to take not the Honitsu and just any hand, because you already have a Dora, and so it gives you more value either how.
Right, you can Riichi actually if you draw a Sozu tile, but most likely you'll be on the 1 pin and north weight, and there's one pin in the discards and there's one north in the discards, so it's unfortunately not the best way. Meanwhile, Claire's hand, I believe, is also 1 Shanten. She's going to hold on to the Hatsuf as a safe tile, most likely. Okay, and calls Khan on the 8-mon. Oh, and Amy has a chance to Chiadora.
Very interesting chi here. I think even though it does kind of hurt your shapes and commit you to using a 3-so, which might not be easily accessible in the wall, but I think it would have been a very powerful chi in that moment.
I'm not so sure about that chi because because you already have Mongon with this hand. I mean, yeah, you're adding one more fun. You're making Mongon into Mongon. Oh, but and making your shape much worse. So
So her hand is still not really progressing.
nope.
She's still 2
But
shanten, but there are
nope.
enough draws technically.
But Pio and Claire are still one shanten. I believe yes, Mike McLeod is also one shanten. Okay.
Yep, no one's getting super close. That's the
No.
now Mike is tenpai, but he is furi-ten. So whether he takes it or not is
And there's the winning tile.
Well, yeah, the winning tile is drawn, but unfortunately he
That
cannot
leaves
use it. And the other side, the 4 mons are dead, so Mike McLeod won't be drawing it himself. If he ends in tenpai, that would be good, but otherwise the hand isn't going to be going anywhere.
right. He's just and Claire reaches tenpai immediately on 3/6 mon, and that appears to be
Okay.
there's 2 6 mon left, I believe.
It's quite a couple. 2 is quite a lot of live tiles this late in the game. Maybe it's just done. I mean, there's no draws left. She's not gonna get to tenpai, so.
Well, she could still draw for the here.
She doesn't have any more draws.
Oh, and the high tile is.
And the high tile.
Depending
Mike
on.
McLeod will have to draw the 3-pin if he's brave,
Yeah.
and he does. He drops it.
He does.
And avoids. Yeah.
So Amy, the dealer, is the only one who's not in tenpai. So the dealership moves and.
Yes, but she is still in first place. Pio has a pretty fast-looking hand for the dealer, with some okay shapes and one completed 5, 6, 7 block, if you want to look at it that way. Claire has no completed sets, but a pair of the Hatsu.
Okay.
Pio now pawning his tune. He'll be probably
and he doesn't get rid of the Hatsu.
No, I think Pio wants a little. Pio is looking to keep a possibility open for an increase in value, because otherwise he's committing to basically a 2,900 point hand. Unfortunately for him,
when he pairs it,
all the pairs are set. So
the 2 Hatsu pairs are basically locked into each other.
Locked in.
Unless
Japanese they call this mochi mochi, and I could go for some mochi right now.
I like to think of it as a game of chicken. So who gets rid of their pair first?
Oh, exactly. But thankfully for Pio, this is an advantage that Claire doesn't really have with the shape of her hand. Pio doesn't necessarily need the Hatsu to win, right? If Pio cheese a 5/8 mon, he can easily, or even pawns the 5 mon, he can still use the Hatsu as his pair and win the hand for 2,900 points. For Claire, it seems like pawning the Hatsu is her really only realistic way towards winning. So for her now,
and he draws a. Okay, so now, he's now in tenpai.
He is now in tenpai.
Oh, and now Mike McLeod also reaches tenpai.
Oh, and
the 2/5 pin.
Draws the winning tile. Oh,
and it gets run immediately.
That's painful to see. That's painful. It was also, and an Ura. That's just painful.
So a Mongon to Mike McLeod, and that was also a very unfortunate turn of events since Mike McLeod's discards were all terminals and honors, if I remember correctly. So it was hard to tell what the weight was.
Oh, as the dealer, you basically have to keep going. You can't stop right there. So.
Oh, and especially with that point position, as Buten and I were talking about, you need to be aggressive in these types of situations.
Yes, and now Mike McLeod has put himself in a pretty decent position to have a very solid chance at first place. Unfortunately, Pio not looking too good anymore. He had a good chance to win his hand, and make a comeback, or at least begin a comeback. But now he's not looking too good.
All right. The Dora is one pin. There's one copy in Amy's hand and one copy in McLeod's hand. Oh, and Claire has a chance to con here. I think I would pass on this con because you can also keep it as a connector to your 5 and 6. So, yep. Meanwhile, nope, I believe Amy is still in 2 Shantan. Oh, interesting choice. She has a chance for Sanshoku now on 7, 8, 9 with that draw. This one. Okay. So she decides to keep her Sanshoku chance. Okay, and Mike McLeod Riichi's. His weight will be 3 pin only, one of which is just floating around in Pio's hand. Oh, and he deals it immediately. Very unfortunate turn of events, but I think in that point situation, he had to push.
Yeah, and Mike wins another 8,000 points. Now Amy needs to win a hand to get the first place, and it's so close. For Amy, there's no folding here. Mike's hand is
quite good, actually.
Incredibly interesting, but quite good as well. Yeah, it's an easy toy if he can get some more pairs going on. Amy's hand is actually not bad either. Amy starts with 2 Ankos, is already actually is already
Ishanten.
Yeah,
already
Unfortunately, the problem with Amy's hand is that it's very lacking in value. There's no clear way that she's going to get a lot of points for this hand. It's easily reaching Amy unless Amy is able to hit the Ura. So that's a big problem with Amy's hand. However, she is close to Tenpai, and you might just have to risk it. Unfortunately,
Okay,
Claire coming in for the Riichi, waiting on the 9-mon Tonki for Riichi Chi Toy.
Dora 2.
Riichi Chi Toy, well, Dora 2.
Oh, and Pio draws it again.
Yeah.
But that's the Dora, so it's not that easy of a tile to deal, despite it being Suji to the 6-mon.
Oh, not at all. And especially because Pio can actually use the Dora here. Pio could easily try to make an Itsu for value with that hand.
Right.
But here, actually, Claire is a bit in danger. Michael Ladd is in Tenpai on a 7-so for East Dora 2, which is a sizable hand.
Yeah, and the 9-mon is currently a dead weight. Assuming the 9-mon does not come out of Pio's hand, it's a dead weight.
Oh, exactly. And Amy is now Ishanten, and we'll have to see how that works out for her. She is getting ready to Riichi. There's no reason why she should fold this hand because she's so close to the first place.
Right,
so
and there's another Riichi stick on the table, so that's another 1,000 extra points. Oh, red 5. Oh, and there's even more value now in this hand.
More value. Now she has the value she needs to win this. Unfortunately, just like that happened, like wins this hand for another 6,400, I think. No, 5,800. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike McLeod's lead is further extended, and his dealership continues. Now Pio has a pair of the Dora Hatsu.
Yes. Immediately.
Okay, and I think
Amy needs a Mongon if she wants to get first. But again, her problem is finding the value.
And Pio's hand is going to be fast, especially if he's already in Ishanten, and those are 2 tiles that are very likely to be pawned. 1 pin and 2-so. Whereas the dealer, Mike McLeod's hand, is not particularly fast, but he does have an Itsu chance. Okay. Now Amy has a choice here. She can try to go for Chitoy or a more Pinfu-ish type hand. I believe she's trying to aim for. Oh, now this is an interesting decision. Okay, so I think she's giving up the Pinfu chance for bit and going all in on Chitoy here.
That's probably a good idea. Going in for the G-Toy here is her easiest way of getting a Mangan Sumo, which is exactly what she needs.
Right, because all she needs to do is hit 2 Uradoro for Chitoy.
Yep.
That's one of the good things about Chitoy. If you hit Uradoro with Chitoy, you'll always get at least 2.
And it bumps you up usually from either a Mangan to a Haneman or something like that. Chitoy, sumoing a Chitoy and then getting some Ura is one of the easiest ways to get a Haneman in the game. And it's one of my favorite things to say. Easiest way to get a
I
Haneman.
am not a fan of Chitoy, as people who know me are well aware of, because
Oh,
it's a
pardon.
it's it's a difficult hand to complete. Okay, and now Pio reaches Tenpai on 4-7 mon, but it's Furi 10.
Actually, shameless plug for our viewers. Next week we'll be hosting famed Japanese professional player Tsuchija Kosho, who is incredibly famous for his use of Chipoi and his skills. And he'll be teaching how to play Mahjong with dignity in a live webinar that will be translated by me and the live cast through the Riichi no Mi YouTube channel. So actually on Zoom, I think it's a Zoom webinar that will be held. So please, if you're
Yeah.
interested, sign up links are available on the Riichi no Mi Discord, and we're looking forward to your applications. Yeah, there's no entry fee or anything, no sign up fee.
Ooh,
Sign
Amy
up
reaches
through a Zoom link.
Tenpai, but it's not the Suanko Tenpai she wanted.
Oh, this is the saddest thing ever. So Pio wanted to keep the red 5 pin and uh, and broke up his Furi 10, but then draws a third 7-mon afterwards. So he would have tumoed his Furi 10 hand, and instead being forced to throw the 7-mon deals into Claire's Dama 10. And Claire was just dominating because she had no chance of improving her placement, and so it's better than dealing into PO.
Right. And so that's an unfortunate turn of events, but there's still 2 more Hanchans, so anything can happen. But
Yep.
for now, Mike McLeod will take a commanding lead. But yeah, I thought given the frequency which I've seen Suanko come up in tournaments lately, I wouldn't be too surprised if Amy drew into Tenpai for Suanko in that last hand.
That's a very occult way of thinking, isn't it? If you switch over to the watch tab here, we perhaps might be seeing the next game start. Actually, yeah,
Okay.
that's the next game. We'll be starting the next
Okay.
game cast in about 4 minutes. So we might just put the stream on a bit of a hiatus or a hold for about a couple minutes while the hosts get a little bit of water and we wait for the next hand to start. I'll see you back in
Right.
about 1 minute.
Right. All right,
Alrighty.
so are we back? Okay, so
Yep. We're back
so
and
the se-
getting ready.
all right, so the second round will begin in roughly 1 minute. So we'll see what happens in this second hot shot and whether Mike McLeod and Amy can hold on to their leads or whether Pio and Thursday or Claire will be able to make a comeback.
This is going to be a very exciting game. Mike McLeod has set aside this huge lead while Pio is deeply in trouble. So there's a huge gulf already in the scores, and that's going to make the gameplay even more unpredictable. With Mike having already a 70 points, there's a lot going to be going through his mind. As long as he doesn't get any fourths, he's almost certainly going to get in the top two. And so, is that going to change his push fold? Will that make him too passive? That's going to be something that we're going to look out for. Meanwhile, Pio and to a certain degree Claire are going to be trying to make up for lost points, and that might make them play even more aggressively and take even riskier plays, right? Plays that have a higher reward but at greater risk. So with the scores kind of already starting to spread out, we'll have to really keep in mind and see how the players react to that and play. We see Mike, ready with his hand, really prioritizing the speed and shapes, not being afraid to throw his double Yakuhai, the east, not being afraid to throw the Dora almost immediately. He's not taking any chances here. He's going for easy hands that are winnable. He's not trying to greed for points anymore. He's trying
Right.
to get he's trying to keep other people from winning hands and make the income that he needs. Now, with the hands open, we see Claire has some pretty good shapes. She's 3 Shanten, I think. 2 Shanten, technically, but it's a
To
really bad 2
Shanten.
Shanten. We have.
Oh, and he has a chance to con here.
Oh, I don't think he's actually going to con. Or he might
Yeah.
only con if he gets Tenpai, because again, he
Right.
doesn't need to he doesn't need to take any big risks. Pio is opening for 1,000 points. We'll see how that works out for him.
Okay.
And Amy has some great shapes and one Dora, 2 Shanten for a pin fruit. So we'll see. Easy ways to pick up
Oh,
some.
okay. And
Oh, Pio
Pure
picked up some
draws it.
value. And now
Right.
it's 6, 9, pin, 10 pie.
Right. 2 of the 9 pins are in Amy's hands. 2 6 pins also in people's hands, and 1 6 pin discarded.
Yes, and
So
Amy now has a great Ishanten shape. Amy is going to be going for.
okay. Oh, and he draws the
That's
6
unfortunate.
pin. No con flow there this
No
time.
con there. But also didn't give Pio any extra Dora, so take it as you will.
Right. Right. Under these rule sets, the new door is flipped immediately after a con. So now the Dora is Forso, and Amy, the dealer, seems to. Okay, so Mike McCall calls immediately on Hatsu. Looks like another fast hand. I think his game plan here is to try to advance the rounds as quickly as possible, given his current standings in the scores.
Exactly. He just wants to get through these hands, and that's exactly the approach that I think I like here.
Right. I think the problem if you're too passive here is that you give people the chance to make big hands. And some of these people, for example, Pio especially, will be trying to get the biggest hands they can. Now, Amy has a chance here for Chanta Sanshoku. Oh, sorry, not Chanta Sanshoku, Junchan Sanshoku.
Exactly. This is going to be, if she, and I agree with the way that she's playing this hand, if she even goes for just a Junchan, closed, it's going to be worth a lot. Whether she can keep it closed, we'll have to see. If she opens, it becomes suddenly kind of a bit of a debacle because you're going to have bad weights, and you're also only going to have 2,900 points. So
Right.
But yeah, two
Right. Oh, and
Shanten.
Pio reaches Tenpai on a 9-mon Tanki, but I think he's probably just going to pass on that. Oh,
Well, Pio
and
can't pass on it because he doesn't have any Yaku. Um, I'm surprised that he isn't reaching on the north
well,
Monkey.
north
Oh,
is
because it's
north is
Furiken. It's Furiken.
Furitan. Yeah, it's
Oh
Furitan.
no,
It's also
it
a
would have
hell
been a good
rate.
chunky. Yeah.
Okay, and I mean the one good thing about a Tanki is that you can basically draw almost any tile and it'll improve your weight. That's
Exactly.
connected to any of the tiles in your hand.
So Pio is Furiken yet again. Um,
Okay.
and then Riichi is only to donate a stick to Claire.
There. Okay.
Unfortunately.
So 4,000 points goes to Claire, and we now move on to East 3. Pio is now the dealer. Important dealer turn for Pio. He needs to try to get as much points as he can from this dealer turn. Dora is 6-mon, which currently there's one in McLeod's hand and one in Pio's hand. So we'll see what they can do with those.
Well, Pio actually has some good shapes again in this hand, so we'll have to see how he makes of them. Actually, he seems like he has kind of like the fastest looking hand at the moment.
He can actually go for okay, no, he's not going for Jinchan.
This is going to be suicidal to go for Jinchan because you don't even have a pair. The pairs
Right,
are
right.
actually the twos. And Amy had a great 7-so draw, which means that her shapes are improving rapidly.
No, this is an interesting choice. Do you? Okay, no, he
I
keeps
like
the
that.
Dora.
I think he needs to keep the Doras. He needs to maximize the value. It is very much in the style of Pio's play, and I think here it's the right thing to do.
Right, and as I mentioned before, he needs points here. Oh, okay. So now will he cut the Dora?
Now will he cut the
That's
Dora? No, I
okay.
think
No, he doesn't. I mean,
he's trying
the
to
idea,
make sure that he can use it, and that's very reasonable.
right?
It does reduce his Ukiire just a tiny bit, but it's not.
Oh, that's not Tenpai for Amy. It's a good draw, but it's not Tenpai, unfortunately, for Amy.
Yeah.
So right now, Pio is trying to find a tile to connect to the Dora. Oh, although I think if you're going to make Tenpai with this hand with Riichi Pinfu Dora, you just Riichi the Dora here. Okay. Okay, now Amy reaches Tenpai on 2-5-so, but 3 of the 2-sos have already been discarded, and the last one is in Thursday's hand.
Unfortunately, the 7-mon gets con, which means the 6-mon is going to get even harder to use. And now at this point, 6-mon is also looking quite dangerous, and so it's really not an amazing situation to be in. But the 6-mon is kind of
Right.
coming out now.
Yeah, and I think it makes
And it comes out just in time too.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Claire's the tile that she did not need dealt right into Amy.
Right. That's just an unfortunate case of drawing the wrong side of your 2-4-6 shape.
Exactly, and that's okay. So now Pio's dealer has passed. Unfortunately, it didn't go super well for him. He needs to make a lot of income, and he didn't. And meanwhile, for Claire, Claire's already Ishanten for a manga on hand. So things are looking a bit up for Claire compared to
A very fast Honitsu it will be,
a
and it
very
doesn't
fast
even look like Honitsu from the discards.
Not yet. It's too early to tell, but I think when the Yakuhai start coming out late, it's going to be a little bit questionable.
Okay, and when the Yakuhai comes out immediately, the double tone.
Yes. Is Claire going to cheat this? No.
No. Cheating that doesn't help. Ideally, you want to cheat 8-mon here.
Ideally, you want to cheat 8-mon, you want to cheat a 6-mon, and Tonki on the pay. That's also totally fine.
Peitanki.
Hey Tonki is yeah, it's a truly Baltimore
It,
classic. But, so
okay,
that's also a
and
great tile, uh, and really widens out the possibilities.
now the interesting thing here is if you draw an 8-mon, would you deal the Dora? Or if you had the chance to pawn the 8-mon here, would you throw the 7-mon here?
Mm,
Or even
the
if you got
pawn the 8-mon. I don't think I would throw the 7-mon. The change in value is simply too big. So
okay, and
I do agree with this kind of play here. It's a little bit. This is like the only problem with this, right? Is that the 1/9 mon is already out, and so you're really, and the 6-mon is the Ura indicator. So this is pretty much the worst way you could have really gotten.
oh,
I
and
think right
here's a
here I
chance.
would drop the 8-mon again.
I think so too, because you basically have a chance at Hanuman now, dealer Hanuman for 18,000. Oh, and
Yeah.
no, she drops the 7-mon here. Okay. So prioritizing good way.
Yeah, but the number of life tiles unfortunately isn't too much different. So
Yeah, you can't really tell that because one of the 9-mons are isn't PO saying, oh,
oh,
okay,
and Mike
well
peels
it pays
in.
off.
Now that's actually quite an interesting thing from Mike because I think Mike had a lot of considerations going through his head. Um, and so on one hand, Mike is quite in the lead, right? He has 70 something points from the first place that he got, and so he probably wants to preserve his lead. But he threw that tile, even though Claire 22 was so advanced, because I think he also wanted to prevent Claire from winning a possibly a big hand, and so he was trying to balance these two risks, right? He had the risk of dealing in and paying out, but also the risk of Claire catching up anyways. And so for him, he pushed ahead with his own hand. And in this case, it didn't work out. But it goes to show that I think the already the kind of widening point gaps after the first game is starting to influence the decision making and starting to complicate things for the players, right? As they're trying to jostle for placement.
Right. And the other thing about that Honitsu is I would say one of the more suspicious aspects was the red 5-pin deal, but other than that, it didn't necessarily look like a Honitsu, especially since the Dora 7-mon was dealt.
Exactly. So I think Claire did a good job of hiding the extent to which her hand was expensive, and also, Mike had some, very hard decisions to make when it came
Right.
to, yeah. So now we see
Right.
Claire use content again.
Right. It's easy to see for us when we're watching the stream and we can see the hands, but Mahjong at its core is a game of incomplete information. Meanwhile, Pio calling twice, but not quite Tempai yet. The Dora Norts have already been discarded twice. Let's see. Amy's still in 2 Shanten, I believe. And here's the third Dora. So the Dora is essentially worthless now.
Yeah.
Amy progresses to 1 Shanten. Meanwhile, Pio is in Tempai on a 5-month only Tanki. Maybe he's trying to draw the red 5-mon, which still has not appeared in this game yet. The dealer Claire is also in 1 Shanten, can get to Tempai with a 3-so, 5-pin, or 9-so. Oh, and he draws it, but not the 5, not the red 5, unfortunately. So a 1-font hand to Pio. As we now move on to the South round with Mike McLeod's dealership.
Yes. Now we have.
Let's see, the Dora is 1, so there's 1 in Claire's hand.
And Mike is trying to figure out how he can get some of his points back. The one thing that he doesn't want in this game is the fourth place, but he's currently the candidate most likely to get it, and he's going to be very desperate to try and fix that situation for himself.
Right, and this spot fourth means minus 30, and so Mike McLeod's previous point spread of plus 70 is not as good as it would appear if he gets a fourth here. So he would like to avoid that if possible. And this dealer turn is a good opportunity to do that.
He's getting some interesting decisions to make. I think growing the Sozu shape is going to be quite good for him, because
Right.
You can use the Dora and stuff like that. Oh, another 3-so. Do you really want the third 3-so though? That's actually a hard question. You might actually not really want the third one.
Well,
But Mike likes it anyways.
I was going to say you could go for Toy Toy if you wanted to open your hand, or even Tanyao.
Oh, that's
well, Toy Toy
painful.
unfortunately did not happen as the second Dora gets dealt from Amy. I mean, the thing with this is that it's going to be fairly slow if you don't open. So I think I would either try to open for Tanya or Toy Toy. What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, well, you can't get Sanshoku Doku anymore because the one souls have been discarded. But here, okay, so he chooses to get rid of 7. So meanwhile, the other hands still appear to be stuck at Ish.
Well, Claire is getting to Ishanten. Oh no, to Shanten still.
2 Shanten, still 2 Shanten.
Wow.
Pio's hand is, I believe,
Ishanten.
1 Shanten.
That Pio
And
is to be Tenpai now.
Tenpai on.
But is it valuable enough? Pio wants points. Oh, he takes it
Okay.
anyway. It's a good
So
wave.
that is, yeah, it's
4,
a 5.
7, 5, 8.
Yeah, 475A. Unfortunately, he was not able to get the 9 so he could not get Sanshoku there.
Mike, unfortunately, is in a bit of trouble because that 5 mon is going to be a little bit hard to use. He could go for Chitoi though, so we'll see.
Right, that's 4 pairs in the hand. 4 pairs, I think, is usually the cut point for Chitoi being about the same speed as other hands, as a regular hand.
Pardon?
For having 4 pairs means is basically the point where Chitoi is about as efficient as going for a regular hand.
Yes. The Chitoi depends. It depends on the. It really depends on the shapes that you have. If you have bad shapes, then with 4 pairs, Chitoi will be your fastest. If you have better shapes, though, oftentimes they recommend that you don't leave the Chitoi open and just go for the shape.
Oh, okay. Oh, and he
Pio
draws the
draws
red
a nice
5 mon. He draws the red 5 mon this time.
It's the most valuable thing he could have had, and he does it.
Right, other than hitting a luck-based Yaku, like hitting 3 Uradora. Alright, so the Dora is now 9, so there's only 1 in Pio's hand. Meanwhile, the dealer, Amy, has a chance for Sanshoku and maybe Chanta. Other than that, okay. So Pio is going to call immediately. Looking to maybe push for Honitsu or just the fast hand in general. Triplet of red dragons for him, which will give him his Yaku. So we'll have to see how he wants to progress that hand. Does he want to go for speed or aim for a more valuable Honitsu with the Dora?
Exactly. Oh, Mike draws a very nice tile. Mike is now Ishanten, although shapes, could not be. He has a risk of getting an awkward weight, but Ishanten nonetheless,
Yeah.
and ideally he draws a 6 mon into Pinsu Tenpai.
Right.
Amy's
6.
hand is still slightly awkward to Shanten.
Right. And Chanta is basically completely out of the question now. Okay. And
Oh, he gets it.
he draws the 7 mon for a 1/4 mon way. Okay. And Amy might be in a bit of trouble if she decides to push this hand.
Amy's folding out almost entirely, or at least taking the long way around. So you never know.
Right.
She might be okay for a while. She'll be okay for a while. It depends on what hands come to her.
Right.
Pio,
But
however, is Pio's at separate points, and Pio's willing to throw Nakatsuji, no problem. Oh, this is tempting. Now it's starting to tempt.
oh yeah, this is one of those hands where I think even if you draw the 3 mon, you're not getting away from it. Yeah.
But it's only Riichi no Mi. It's just Riichi no Mi. Oh, Riichi
With
Uro one.
Riichi Uro one, so Mike McLeod gets some of his points back. So let's see if he can crawl out of the 4th place position.
Yeah, Mike unfortunately still needs quite a bit and has very little time to do it. Now Pio, who was last place in the last game, is now has a pretty workable hand. It's a bit slow, and he dropped a tile showing that he does not really care for going for Tanyao. We'll see whether that comes back to bite him or not.
I think I would cheat with this hand.
Yeah, I would cheat
What do
for
you
this
think?
too. I think the 7 discard was a bit too aggressive. I think Tanyao is one of the most workable things you can do with this hand.
Right.
But at the moment, we don't really have anyone else looking like they're super fast.
No.
Amy has quite a nice
Okay.
hand at 2 Shan 10, and Claire has now pawned the double south and is building up for a hand that will be worth somewhere in the range of 3,900 points, probably.
Right. It's still 2 Shanten though. Okay.
Oh, now it's Ishanten by pawning.
Okay, now it's Shanten.
Yeah.
But that
Well,
being
quite a nice bit
said,
of suit too, so it'll be 4,200 points, I think.
with Pio's hand, okay, but it might not be too. I was going to say Pio's hand might be a bit slow, but it might not be that slow.
Pio is
Even if,
actually Ishanten. He draws himself into
yeah.
Ishanten quite nicely. Claire is Tenpai on just the 7th pin, the door indicator tile.
Okay.
And Pio
And
might throw it, actually. No, I don't think he's gonna throw it. He needs to push. He's not gonna fold out here.
he needs to push here.
Realistically, he's looking at. Oh,
Amy's on 258, so
very interesting. He decided to drop one of his two-sided weights. I thought he was going to pick a pair to drop,
but
he magically, it works out. Wow.
but he gets Tenpai at this.
He gets
Okay.
Tenpai. 6-9
So
is not an amazing weight though, because the 9s are pawned out. There's only 1 9 left, and actually 1 6 in the wall, and so one of each side is still live. Not the most amazing. A 7 pin has been picked up by Mike McLeod, and
okay.
oh,
You would do into Amy.
Yeah, Pio dealt into Amy. Amy's hand
And she hits 2 Urodoro for 5,200.
That's vicious, absolutely vicious.
And now we go to all last.
Yeah, we're going to all last. Claire's hand is not that close to Tenpai. Pio actually has an interesting hand that is going to be a very fast Honitsu. And so we might see an easy 8,000 points by Pio. And if Pio Tsumos that will propel him into first place, which I think is going to be his goal.
Right.
Amy's hand is also not okay. Amy has 1 completed set and a good Realman that just filled up, so 2 completed sets now. But I think at the moment right now, Pio's hand is still the hand to look at. Claire's hand it's slow, and we're gonna have to figure out if Claire has any good strategies. Oh wow, now we're looking at Pio's hand. Yeah, this is definitely the exciting hand to look at. I agree.
And he draws the east for the triplet. Okay.
Very nice.
That's
very nice.
A very good draw. A very good draw.
A very solid draw. Now Pio's already Ishan 10 with a great shape. And no one else. Oh, Pio's into Tenpai already.
He's in Tenpai.
It's a little disgusting. But that Pio's on a 2-5 pin Tenpai for 8,000 points. And if he Tsumos it, it's first place. If he hits a Claire with it, it's first place. And Claire is
There's a good chance she
No,
might
yeah,
drop the 2 pin
there's a good
there.
chance she might drop the 2 pin. Now this is nasty. Does Pio take the West Tonki? And the answer is no.
No. There's already been one West
Oh, the
discarded.
West would have been come out immediately, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have won. So,
Oh,
but Claire.
actually, that actually might save Claire because that actually helps her use that tile more. The 2 pin was looking like it would come out until actually she drew a third one. So now Pito's in quite a little bit of a.
Right. Only 2
Oh
tiles left
wow!
for. Oh wow.
Is
Claire's
Claire
hand
gonna
is
drop the pays or is Claire gonna drop some of the Pinzu? We'll see. There's two.
right.
Yep,
Oh,
for
okay.
3. Okay, so Claire's gonna drop the 1 pin afterwards. Actually, Claire won't be dealing in.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, so that 2 pin is probably stuck in Claire's hand, and that means there's only one 2 pin and
Oh,
one 5 pin.
and the West comes out. Oh, that must hurt
Oh,
so much.
that
That's a lot
yeah,
of
that
regretty. That's a regretty.
yeah, and that was it. That was the last West too. So
Yes. Unfortunately, Claire has now a 9 pin in her. Oh, and she throws it. Now she's waiting on a
she
pay and a 6 on a 6 pin. So we'll
yep.
see. The 6 pin is actually Nakasuji, so it's quite safe
Or
looking.
six pins completely in the discards. It's a
Yeah.
pay only, and there's
It's
only
pay
one
only and
pay
only
left.
one. Wow,
There's
that is
only one
actually,
pay.
you're right. Thanks for pointing that out. That is actually
It's
incredibly risky, but high reward. Oh,
oh, and
con. Does PO con here? I don't think he needs to con here, but he does it
okay, but
anyways. He's PO. He is our hero, and PO con.
and now Claire's in danger of dealing in if
But
she
Claire has
draws the
also the most to gain from this. So
right.
actually, I think if I was Claire, I'd be a little happy. Except, I am waiting on one tile that may or may not be live.
Right, and
Yeah.
you have one player, and you have one player pushing against you, or make that
Oh,
two
and Mike
players.
Mike Mike McLeod reaching on the 7 pin and 8
Eight,
so. How
which
many 7 pin
has
are live?
no
Actually, all the 7 pins
none.
are dead,
That
and the 8 sos there is one
none.
no 0 8 sos live.
It's a
So
completely dead weight.
completely dead weight. Actually,
Okay,
Claire has one tile live, and the PO has 2 tiles
one.
live. One,
Oh wait, no, yeah, two,
two.
two,
So
two. Yeah,
but
there's
Claire
oh
wins. That
and Claire.
wow.
Oh wow, there was the
Misses
last
the
2 pin.
Ura, but that still
Okay.
it crushes Mike's dreams and crushes PO's dreams. Wow, this is a nail biter here, folks.
That is a very unfortunate turn of events. The last 5 pin for Pio's hand was also the red 5 pin.
PO is quite
So
close too, so
yeah, I think it would have been enough even if it was a run. It would have been Haneman.
yes. That's quite crazy.
Okay. Meanwhile, in this first homebrew of all last, Dora is 2 mon, and there's currently only one 2 mon in Amy's hand, whereas the dealer Claire has looks like a 2 shantan standard pinfu.
This looks like it's gonna be a great.
Oh, maybe not.
Claire's hand looks quite reasonably fast, if not that super valuable, but she's just trying to make some points right now to make up for her third place last game.
When she draws the Dora, there's only one Hatsu left since the first Hatsu was done on the first turn by PO. So we'll have to see how this game progresses. Would you Riichi here if you drew 7 so or 4 so butane?
Oh, I think I would take the Riichi either way. No worries. I'm dealer. I'll just take the Riichi, and I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, but you also repeat. So and you're in a solid
Oh, of
first
course.
one.
I'm kidding, money.
Mm. It might be the more aggressive play to Riichi, but I think I would. I'm not in danger unless a Magan is sumoed here, so I think I would actually, if I drew 4-7, so I wouldn't take my chances with that.
I think I would love to be aggressive here. I think like making money, making points here
Mhm.
is exactly what you want to be doing. Extending your leads, making people second guess because it's not like Tenho where getting a fourth sucks equally, right? As
Right.
long as you're in fourth place, it sucks.
Oh, and
Here, you're thinking do you really want to lose the points or not? What kind of risks are you taking, right? Like even if you have a hand that is if you have a hand that is not super close, you might fold anyways. Whereas in Tenho, there's no reason not to fold because if Claire wins her hand or stays Tenpai, you'll get another chance the next hand anyways. And so it does you can't assume that people are just going to push everything against you just because they're desperate. People are going to have to
right,
still consider folding, and giving them that pressure is what you want to be doing to a certain degree.
right. So that's definitely one way to play. Meanwhile, Claire doesn't have to make that decision of whether to reach you or not because she's already in Tempai on 7 pin. Actually, there's a good chance that she might draw it here because there's only one 7 pin and it's in Amy's hand. Still 3 7 pin left. Oh, but Mike McCall Riichi's he's got an Itsu, 2 Doro waiting on 8 Mon, 2 of which have already been dealt. Oh no, 3 actually. There's only one 8 Mon left. But remember, one tile is enough to win. Claire only had one tile in that last hand. Okay, and she
Oh, and
sumos it.
Simo's it.
Yeah, there was only one 7 pin out in the entire game, and just with the amount of tiles left, I think there was a good chance that she would draw it.
Never doubt a one chance. There's always
Right.
the possibility.
Meanwhile, amazing hand with 3 Dora for Claire.
And she's taking this she's going to take this opportunity and make more points.
Right,
She's
and it's just been a tough situation for the other players, particularly McLeod, who just lost another 1,000 points because of his Riichi stick in that previous round.
oh, for sure. Extending this lead is what he needs to do right now, and he's going to have to just go for it.
The thing with this hand is that you're most likely going to end up with the weight on the 7 pin again.
That's true, but actually, there's a lot of tiles that you pick up where you just drop the 7 pin, but the drop the entire
Right,
8 9 pin shape. So I think
right,
like if I picked up anything in middle pinzu, middle manzu, I probably
right.
switch over, no problem.
Would you swap over on 5 Mon here?
I think I would. But not anymore, I don't
Okay,
think. But now you're actually looking at possibility of Toy Toy
right. Or even Chitoy.
or even Cheetoy. I don't think. I think the shapes are good enough that Cheetoy is not necessary, right? Like Cheetoy is gonna make sure that like you're gonna make your hand really hard to win with a Cheetoy. Whereas if you, oh wow, this is yeah, it's great. I think she's gonna lock in her just Riichi
Right.
here, but
Riichi here for Riichi Dora 3, a dealer Mongon.
yeah,
That would
an
be
easy Mongon.
for 12,600 here.
Meanwhile, Pio is faced with some hard decisions, and the shapes get even better. But this is actually a pretty hard discard for Claire. What she's gonna take, and I think she decides that 7 pin is not gonna come out for her this time, and we'll see. There's actually 3 7 pins in the wall, so we'll have to see. Now Pio
Oh,
gets to
two. There's
Tenpai.
one
Pio's
in
not
McLeod's
Tenpai.
hand.
I'm sorry. Wait, no, Pio is
Amy's
Tenpai.
in.
Pio is Tenpai if he throws the 3 mon, and he does. Pio is waiting on the 1 4 pin. Amy is waiting on the 1 4. No, hold on, 3 6 pin.
3 6 pin. A lot of overlapping weights.
Yeah, quite a lot of overlap.
Actually, 6 pin is completely out. There's 2 in McLeod's hand and 2 in Pio's hand. So as for 3-pin, oh, there's one of the winning tiles. Doesn't deal it. Okay.
Yeah, Claire is holding out completely. She's locking in the value she has. And this is where it comes to balancing your desire to make points, to make money, to extend your lead, and also your desire to preserve your placement, right? And so at this point, Gap, there are two people Riichi. With two people Riichi, the chances that they'll deal into each other increase. At the same time, uh, the chances that one of them can sumo a big enough hand to unseat her first place is not super high. You need a Mangon for Amy and more than a Mangon for Pio. And so,
Right.
you're actually no, with enough home, but Pio can also get can win with can sumo a Mangon. So either of them
Right.
need to sumo a Mangon to actually get the first place. But
Oh,
with two of
but
them, the
doesn't.
chances of having just a deal in is higher, and so she backs off. She lets them deal into each other, and and Amy deals into Pio. Pio slides into second place, and we see the end of our second match. So I don't have. I'm not sure if we'll put up the scores on the
Right.
stream. It might be we might not have the technology for that, but I can give you an easy update right now. So going into the final Hanchan, we have Claire in first place with 35.6 points, Mike with 20.9 points, and Amy with 4.7 points. And so actually, and Pio with negative 61.2 points. And what that really
Right.
means for us is Pio is going to need some crazy plays if he wants a chance of sliding into um, sliding into first or second place. Would not count him out. It's because he'll be hitting people down to do that, and the scores will swing viciously. Claire is currently in a lead, but the top three are so close together. Claire's Mike is only 15 points behind Claire. Amy is only 15 points behind Mike, and that is so small, right? Because it's the UMA itself is just 10, 30, negative 10, negative 30, and those are 20-point gaps. So it's really still anyone's game. For Claire, if she can maintain a first or second, she's probably looking at qualifying, and so she's going to be playing defensively and probably not trying to get knocked into third or fourth. For Mike or Amy, they're going to be looking at either getting at least a second, if not a first. And so they're going to be playing a little bit aggressively because they need to. They're going to be competing for that. And Pio is going to be going all out, trying to be as much of a monster as he can because he'll need to pull that out. So we'll see. We'll really have to see.
Okay, and so it's still anyone's game, and so for the last game, Andre will be taking my place as commentator with Butane. So thank
So
you.
yeah, thank you so much for casting, for hosting with me for the first two Hanchan, Kevin. It was such a pleasure to spend some time with you tonight. It's been so long since we've been in the same mahjong club.
Yeah,
For those
definitely.
who don't know, we played together in both Baltimore and Ann Arbor, Southeast Michigan clubs, and so it's nice to participate with you today in New York club event.
Right, definitely, and I can't wait to see what will happen in the last Hanchan. So
Exactly, and exactly. And with a big thank you to Kevin, we now have to welcome Andre into the lobby. Andre, are you there?
I am here and I'm ready. And
All right. Well,
I think we
great.
have a few minutes before we start, right?
We do have quite a few. We do have a few minutes. I'm going to be seeing when they start. They haven't started the game yet, so we'll have at least 5 minutes. Big thank you to Kevin again for coming in and hosting the games, and with me for the first two, casting them and having some nice banter. And now we welcome Andre.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been exciting game so far. Pretty exciting S4 in the last Hanchan for sure. And it definitely upset the standings a little bit. So definitely anything can happen still in this third Hanchan and final Hanchan of the night.
Oh, for sure. Great, and I just got a note saying that the next Hanchan will be started in 3 minutes, meaning that the stream will be live for the next Hanchan in 8 minutes at 10:45 p.m. 9:45 Central. And so with that, I think I would like to take a few minutes break and then come back to you when there's a few minutes left before the start of the final Hanchan. Um, I will see you right back, Andre.
Sounds good. I'll see you in a little bit.
And I'm not sure if Andre is here, but we are now 4 minutes away from starting being able to view the next game. The Australians are a little bit ahead of us. But yeah, I'll be the last one. So I have just like to, to introduce our players again for those who are tuning in since the middle. We have currently Claire, the leader of the Riichi Memory Club, in first place with 35.6 points. Mike McLeod, who is an NYC member living currently in Toronto, in second place with 20.9 points. Amy, one of our newest members, and someone who's quite new to Mahjong actually, playing against much more seasoned players and holding her own with 4.7 points. And Pio, who will be looking to make some of his signature aggressive plays to make up for some big point losses when he is at negative 61.2 points. Let's see. So I actually have some fun little things to bring up about some fun facts about our players here. Claire, in first place, says that she fun fact about her, she does not have any interest and does not play any other games, video, board game, anything. Does not play anything. Has no interest. Only cares about Mahjong. Her favorite Yaku, Ira-san. Amy is quite new to Mahjong. A fact about her.
Bettina, a question for you. For
No
those
worries.
who are joining us now, what do you think is the strategy for each of the players, given it's a cumulative score? And by now we have 2 Hanchans already played.
So I think the easiest is for Pio. Pio needs to get points. He needs to get the first place here to have a shot, and he needs a decent first place at that, knocking some of the other players down quite deep. He needs to knock 2 players down and get a first place doing it to really have a good shot. But that's still achievable. It's not over for him yet. So he's going to be playing very aggressively, trying to hit 60,000 points or more to make up for all the points that he's lost and to get out of this hole. I think Amy and Mike McLeod are in the most difficult positions. They're jostling back and forth, and Claire's not that far ahead, but Claire is going to be trying to go for, as long as she gets the first or second place, she's very secure, and she just needs to avoid fourth place. Similarly with Mike in the second Hanchan. But we're gonna have to see Amy and Mike really fight it out, right? And they're gonna be looking at their scores vis-a-vis each other and Claire primarily to try to figure out who's going to be going into the last who's going to be going into the top 2. So I think we're going to see a lot of aggression from Pio. There's no point in defending anymore. He needs to just take every single chance that he can get. Meanwhile, the other 3, because they're so close, they're only 15 points apart from each other. They're going to have to be playing much more carefully because one of them is going to get knocked down to the out of relegation at least, and I'm sure none of them wish that it was done.
We have the game about to start with Amy, the first dealer. Pretty interesting hand, possible Honitsu. She's aggressive, but still quite far from it.
Oh, indeed. Amy, fun fact about Amy, she says she gets 1 hiccup a day on average. So she's constantly hiccuping is what she has to say. Her favorite thing about NYC is the New York club and Chinatown, Koreatown. And her favorite Yaku is Itsu, which is actually a Yaku, unlike Urasan.
Oh, and we have the first round already on Mungan. This is a Dama Mungan, the 3 Dora in hand, could only win with the Haku, and the Haku came out quite easily given the first row of discards.
No, it could have won with the Forso because it's Sanshoku Doko.
Oh wow, that's
yeah,
very rare, very rare situation here. In fact, and we know how Claire is the fan of the Doko.
That's aggressive, and that is incredibly wild. Just like so soon, hitting that Tenpai.
Right. Especially this early, everyone would believe the Hawk would stay, right? If it was a little bit later in the game, it might not have come out with none seen. All the doors are out. Not unusual for a Haku Dora. When one player starts discarding them, they tend to come out unless someone has a pair.
Pio's hand is looking really good.
Really good. And knowing Pio is a value player, right? He will choose the most aggressive direction with his hand. It seems like he's eyeing that Sanshoku, 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku, because he didn't even hesitate in shaving that extra 3-so.
And he is not willing to con. I'm sorry, he's not willing to cheat. It's too cheap. He needs to take this for the Riichi, and he's holding off for now. He's still resisting. Second chi, still resisting. However, Claire is quickly coming on to a big hand, and she's trying to decide between going for a fast hand or going for the Suanko. Oh no, she's Riichi the Suanko Tenpai. That is. Wait, no, it's not Suanko Tenpai. I'm sorry.
Right.
That is an 8-so weight with 3. Wait.
She can also win on the 3.
She can also win on the 3, but it's also the 8-so, and that's it because the 6s are dead.
The 6s are dead, so 3 pin. All of them are in hands right now, but she gets the 8-so. For another big hand.
Tanya, oh, nope, it's bigger than that. Oh, Tanya, Ipeiko, Dora 1.
Another consecutive big hand. Claire is now dealer, so that's already moves to East 3 with Claire already with quite a big advantage, right? So it means that changes quite a bit how everyone else is going to have to play.
Pio is the one who's sweating. He only has 1 dealer turn left to make a ton of points. Meanwhile, Amy and Mike are now much closer, and it's looking like between one of them is going to have to go. And even though Amy is 15 points behind Mike in the current standings, the vast difference in placement bonuses means that as long as Amy finishes on top of Mike, Amy will advance and get the second.
Right, and Pio opens his hand with a green dragon and a pong of 2s. It looks like he's gunning a toy. Not a high value hand unless there's a con, unless he hits 3 Doras. But he now changes it. He drops the 8.
Oh, he's what is he going for here?
Interesting, very interesting.
I'm not exactly sure what he's trying to go for, but we'll see. Perhaps he has a plan. Maybe he thought the 8s were not looking too good, but the 8s looked okay. I guess like it was because they were the indicator tile. Like one was already out. Maybe he thought he wanted to swap out early. Claire is faced with a dilemma, and she decides to choose the Dora. She's gonna be getting another big hand soon. Oh.
Pio's Tenpai on the 3-so.
For almost nothing, though. It's not a very valuable hand.
Not at all.
Claire's Ishanten for another Dora 3 hand.
Right.
Completely vicious.
And Amy has quite good shapes, especially in the Sozu. So this hand can actually accelerate quite a bit. She's Ishan 10 with a Shampong, probably can improve to Pinfu Tanyao rather easily. She has a chance to Pong for Tenpai, and she declines, so probably not wanting the cheap hand.
The PO swaps out for 360 weight, slightly better than the 3-so that she had. And for Amy, when to take a Tenpai is going to be a very difficult decision, because she does not need first place to get advance right now. She simply needs to finish on top of Mike, especially with Claire kind of sealing the first place, or having a solid grasp on it at the moment. And so
a tough efficiency decision for Claire. The timer, she declines the Ryoncon. Means her hand still has 3 pairs, so a little bit of, she draws an isolated 3-so. She realizes it's a very difficult Suji right now. It's still in the table and deals it in. Fortunately for Claire, quite a small hand.
Yep, just 1,300 points. Well, actually 1,000 points, because the Honba, she was not the dealer before.
And while a win for Pio, a tough win, moves the game to East 4 without making a lot of progress towards the points he needs, right? He needs big hands, especially his dealership, which still a couple turns away, a couple hands away.
His dealership is truly his last hope, unless he can pull something truly magnificent really quickly. Now we're looking at Mike. Mike has quite some good shapes and a single Dora.
Just got better. Just gets better with
it just gets better.
Chance of Ipeiko. The head is pretty set. The isolated 9-pin. So he's 2 Shanten here, but potentially with a really, really good hand. Reach Pinfu Tanyao Dora, like easy dealer Mongon if he has a couple good draws.
Amy takes the Hakupon. Not a very expensive hand, but takes an Ishan 10 for just something to get Mike off of his dealer. And that's the kind of smart play that is going to really help her, because she knows that she needs to finish on top of Mike, and that's all she needs to do to advance. And she cannot afford to let Mike win anything on his dealer turn. And so Amy's gonna do her best to quickly, even if it's cheap, get Mike off his dealer, win any hand. And Amy's has 2 Ryaumen. Oh, and now she's Tenpai on the 4-7-so, and so she's very good to go.
Mike's hand advances one more notch. He has an isolated Ishan 10, so he just simply needs to draw the 2-5-8. Sozu to be ready, and drop the 3-pin for a pretty big hand, especially if it happens to turn to the Ipeiko side with another Dora. But Amy is ready, and that Suji, from their perspective, is still quite live. 6 tiles not visible to Amy.
Exactly, and especially if Mike Riichi's this hand, 7-so is going to be a safe tile against the Riichi, like right now. And so we could see Claire dropping it to fold, because Claire doesn't need to deal in.
And with Mike Riichi for a quite big hand, the 8-so could look safe because of his early discards. Pio very luckily draws a pair, which saves him from dropping it, and he's waiting on a Chitoi on a west. Really good weight, especially with a once cut west. Claire doesn't drop it though. And there we go. Amy wins a quick small hand on the 4-so, which denies Mike his rather nice dealer Mongon and moves us one step closer to resolving the Hanchan.
Really good, really smart play coming out of Amy here.
You can see Mike is not happy with that, but he draws a new hand with 2 Dora and some already a group formed, some work to do. But
This is also
a hand with potential.
Yep, this is definitely a very important hand. It's Amy's dealer, and obviously, if dealers pay out, twice the amount when it's a Tumo, if they get Tumoed on, and so for Mike, this is an important chance to, increase his position vis-a-vis Amy by Tumoing on her dealership, and especially with something like this with 2 Dora, it's going to be exactly what he needs to fight for second place with Amy. I think that's really right now the most exciting contention is Amy and Mike's battle for second place. But Pio is not giving up. He's building a monster hand, 2 Shanten from Sanshoku Tanyao Pinfu Dora 2, no laughing matter, and another step closer. So Pio is getting ready to smack with a pretty big hand, Ishanten with really good shapes. And that hand will actually, no, he's not Ishanten. Sorry, I misread one. The 7 shows as a 6. So he still needs a 6-0 to make it happen. But he's Ishanten for a Tanya Dora 2, which is also no laughing matter. It's Tenpai, but is he going to take it? I'm going to say, oh, wow, he takes it.
He takes it on the Champon weight.
Takes on the Champon weight. Claire draws 1 immediately. However, there are still 2 live, 1 5-so and 1 7-so. I honestly did not think that Pio would have taken such a weight because I thought he would have wanted to get the Sanshoku, but it actually is quite far from the Sanshoku, and so this is probably his best bet for now, especially because he still has his dealer coming up, and he Tsumos it. That's a big hand. That's a big hand.
Unfortunately, no Ura for Pio, so just the Mongon, which is not small at all. But I'm sure he was hoping for the Hanuman with any single Ura.
Or Ura-san for Paimon.
Quite a bit. Exactly. Game changes quite a bit with now Pio tied with Amy, and Pio has his dealership. This is his only chance to get a few wrench on a few big hands.
Yeah, he really needs it too. And again, for right now, for the time being, I think as long as Pio does not get a huge second, I think as long as Pio is still in second place, it doesn't matter what place he gets, how many points he has in second, he won't be advancing. Amy and Mike are still going to be jostling for their positional relationship as long as whoever's on top of the other will be advancing along with Claire. And so Pio needs to win several hands here, needs to extend this dealer ship and get the first place. Without first place, Pio doesn't really have much of a chance at all. And so we'll be seeing how they do. But at the same time, if Pio gets to first place and ends the game with Claire in second place, then Pio has quite a good shot actually of bumping both Mike and Amy out of the game. I think Mike would need to be 4th, and Amy would need to be 3rd for Pio to have the best chances of that. And that's exactly the situation, right? If at the current moment, and so Pio could be trying to edge into his best case scenario, getting the first place here, and putting Claire in second, putting Amy in 3rd, putting Mike in 4th, and and with a big enough first, he'll be walking himself into second place.
Right.
This is Pio, and we're not going to put it past him.
Exactly, and his hand keeps rotating. He has a good chance of Pinfu, but still 2 Shanten. Drops one of the pairs, and is probably eyeing the possibility of a high Ipeiko or or just simply winning the hand quickly. Unfortunately, this hand is not very callable since a lot of the sets accept terminals, which would make it really hard to guarantee a tiny out here.
Pio's shapes are improving, but still at 2 Shanten. Claire is the closest with an E Shanten hand. Again, it's not very callable unless the Forso comes out, in which case Claire might think about doing a E Shanten to E Shanten call. But otherwise, Claire is still not 10-5. Improves her shape slightly.
Keeps a second Anko, which means we could see a Doratanki.
We could see Doratanki.
Or we could see that seven so come in. She has one of the Ankos she can shave down to a pair and have a really good weight. So she has a headless Ishanten, so meaning really good tile acceptance.
Claire is thinking about doing the Ishanten to Ishanten Chi, but it's inadvisable because she has no tile to throw out. It's really awkward right here because if he throws, oh wow, okay. So she does that. That's
She decides on the head by dropping the 5.
Does Pio take the Rion Peiko here? It's really tempting. But Amy takes the Amy still Ishanten.
And Claire draws her Tenpai, waiting on 5-8 pin. She only sees 2 of the 8 pins out.
But the 8 pins are actually there's only 1 8 pin live and 1 5 pin. The rest of them are dead, but 2 live tiles is still plenty at this stage in the game.
Pio has a chance to Riichi, which he does. And it's interesting, his hand looked very Pingfu hand, and it rotates all the way to 2 Ankos, but still with a good weight.
There's actually 2 Dora left in the wall for Pio. And 2 and 1 9-so as well. So there's 3 live tiles in the wall, which is wild at this stage with only 4 discards. With only 4 tiles up in the live wall. Unfortunately, Pio is unable to sumo it. Claire, however, draws it, so she might be forced to fold out, and she does.
She does.
So Claire is folding out at least.
Oh, and he draws the Dora.
Oh, this is a big win for Pio. A big win for Pio, even without the Ura. Riichi Tsumo Dora for a good 6,000 points. Pio is putting himself in contention for first place, very solid, and getting very close to his dream scenario, and a very workable hand too to do it with. It's not exactly the fastest hand. He's going to have to call very aggressively, going for the Honitsu, but it's what he needs. It's what he needs, and Claire is fighting it out. Unfortunately, Claire's hand is just a bit faster, and it looks like it will be also a Honitsu. So that's at least 3,900 points in value. Oh yeah, Claire's hand is advancing rapidly.
Well, Pio doesn't have great luck with the draws. Already 2 Tsumogiris of Pinzu. He still has 1 middle tile in the wrong suit.
Yes, I think actually with the East Pawn, I would not have kept both of the Yakuhais just because it's so inefficient. I feel like winning the hands is so important right now and keeping the dealer that I would have kept the 3 pins, especially because you can use the Dora with that. You can use the double Dora with that, and just like trying to win the hands is just as good. Instead of forcing yourself to win this 12,000 point hand. Of course, if it works out, then all the power to him. Unfortunately, I think Claire is going to cheat that. Well, no, actually, no, Claire doesn't need to cheat that. Claire can pwn that into Tenpai, but neither Tenpai is super great. She will have plenty of room to move around, though, which is important. Let's see what she takes. Okay, she takes the 2-mon Tenpai. Great, because the 4-mons are pwned. They're harder to use. Pio is Ishanten, though, so nothing to joke at.
Yeah, but with a very difficult Ishanten.
Yeah, unless you wait on the...
Will we see a Peitanki? Will we see the Peitanki?
The experts cannot say. Will we see a Peitanki? Especially if 1 pay comes out, it's going to look real good. 1 pay is out. Will Pio get into a Peitanki?
Yeah, he
Or
did.
what-
He did toss the 8 so, even though that was his last Sozu at the time. Meaning he's
Yeah.
trying to not make it too obvious it's the Honitsu. But at the same time, he did commit to the Honitsu when dropping the 4.
Yes.
Things improve a little bit with them by drawing a tile next to the 4 so's. Meaning this
Claire
Ishanten is
missed
a
a chance
little
to win her
wider.
hand by not swapping out for the Haku Tanki. Very unfortunate for Claire. And now we're looking at Pio dealing a very dangerous tile. Claire is not giving up either. So these two are just facing off. Claire does have the slight advantage by being in Tenpai. However, Claire's weight is not good. However, at the same time, Pio's Ishanten is not that good either, especially because the one so is
Right.
out. And now Pio is really starting to regret some of his earlier discards, I think.
I think so. I think so. He would have a pretty nice position.
Oh, Mike deals in. It's bad for Mike and it's actually bad for Pio. It's good for Amy and Claire. So unless Pio can upset this by quite a bit with a big hand of big sumo right now, we're going to be seeing Amy and Claire going into the finals. And Claire has another big hand ready. She's making some points. 2 Aka Doras and the ability to use a normal Dora if she picks it up. It's not bad at all. Not bad at all at this point in time.
Not bad at all. The hand has value, has a Yaku, but it still needs a little work. But the hand's already open, so she's definitely willing to call her way.
She needs to call her way. It needs work. Amy needs to move the game along. So I don't like. We'll have to see if she calls a Riichi on her hand. She seems like she can build an Ipeiko or Pinfu out of it, and I think it might not be such a bad idea. Oh, now also the chance of having a Sanshoku, a lot of chances to win the hand without reaching, which is I think what Amy would be extremely well served to do at the moment.
And Claire, while she has a very callable hand, she is holding on to safe tiles very wisely because she's in first place and commanding the game, so she wants the ability to fold out if needed. She is holding it that east, both as a safe tile or perhaps will we see the con? The con.
Wow, the Dora is very difficult decision for Pio. Pio passes on the third 8 mon because he really wants to reach it. The Sanshoku Dora 2 here isn't going to cut it for him. He needs more points than that. And so it's a Sanshoku Dora 1, I'm sorry. And so he passes on the third 8 mon, even though I'm sure it's tearing him apart to do that. Meanwhile, Claire is Ishanten. Pio is getting close as well, again, going for that Sanshoku. It's a very close game. Mike is going to advance his hand more. Again, going to Ishanten. Mike needs this Mangan to move into the dealership and have a chance of overtaking Amy. Pio draws into Tenpai, unfortunately waiting on the worst weight, and doesn't take the Tenpai, which is extremely understandable. It's a really difficult Tenpai to take. There's only 1 live tile left. I think if I was Pio, I think I would have taken it anyways, though, because it's the kind of long shot chance that you really need.
Amy Riichi's on a tough weight but very valuable hand. At least Riichi Sanshoku.
Only 1 live though, so we'll see. Pio is now bailing, I guess, dropping a safe tile. I don't think he wants to win his hand anymore, which I don't know. I think at this moment in time, he really needs to have taken the chance. So everyone's going to be pushing. Mike needs to push. Mike can't afford to lose. And now Pio has drawn 2 of Mike's winning tiles. Thankfully, Riichi because now he won't be dropping them. Unfortunately, it's going to be hard for him to use because he'll be 30-10 on the 3 mon. And yeah, Pio is trying to fold out safely. Mike and Amy are having a little showdown. There's not too many live tiles in the wall left for the two of them. Claire is folding out. She doesn't need these points. She's just going to be happy taking, letting the hand pass along. Mike and Amy are just fighting this out. There's one 3-pin left in the wall for Amy, and one no weights left out for Mike.
So it doesn't come out. We go to exhaustive draw, which means that the dealer is going to move again, which is good news for Claire, who just wants the game to end.
Very good news for Claire. Now Pio is in much more of a tough spot. With one Riichi stick out, he needs a Mungon to get into a first place and have a shot at all. Preferably, he wants a Hanuman to get more points. I don't have the exact point calculations down, so I can't tell you whether he can advance with just a Mungon Sumo. But he needs something. He needs a hand. He needs to win this to have a chance at knocking Amy and Mike into the 4th place. Who has the fastest hand? I think Amy has the fastest hand by far.
Pio is seeing the Yakuman possibility here for sure. He's ditching out his middle tiles. His
it's not a bad play at this moment. If he can win a Yakuman, he will advance for sure. If his hand otherwise was pretty far from a Mangon, his other really big option was to go for a Honitsu without any Yakuhai pairs or good runs, or good sets. And so I think having this Rishanten, it's fine. I feel
he sees the Hatsu go though. There's only one Hatsu left. That's the true bottleneck here. There's only one Hatsu left.
Yep, and it's not looking super great. And so now he's picking up some Sozu tiles. Perhaps he's thinking about he's committing. He's committing to it. I thought with the 9-so pickup, it was gonna be a hard decision for him because he might think about, oh, do I want to switch over to a Sozu Honitsu? He says no way, and takes it. Now Amy is super close. Amy reaches Tenpai. Oh no, Amy is Ishan 10 with that discard. I think she might drop a 3-so. No, she has a 7-pin. Claire also has a callable Ishan 10.
Mike also Ishan 10. Difficult shapes, but he has the Anko. So
Amy gets the Tenpai. Amy gets the Tenpai. Amy's going for that. Amy knows that if she can just win this hand, it's she has the game. She has the game. And Pio's hand is not coming together, unfortunately. The Kokushi is not coming together. Mike's hand is... Oh, Amy Tsumos it. That's all she needed.
And that's game.
It's game. So Amy and Claire will be advancing. I can read off the exact points right now. I think we have it already. But oh no, they're not inputted. Oh yeah, they are inputted. So in the final score, we have Claire at first place with 93.2 points. Amy second place, 12.5 points. Mike in third place, 31.9 points. And finally, Pio in fourth place with negative 73.8 points. That was a very so yeah, Claire and Amy will be representing New York tomorrow morning, Eastern time, against the champions of Australia. I think have yet to be decided.
very nice third hanchan. Everyone went in with a chance to fight. Hope was still alive, even for Pio, going in great Pio style for a last-minute Gokushi. He ended up quite close to it, but not fast enough, unfortunately. And Amy smartly wins a hand just to win, just to finish the hanchan, knowing she just needs a little bit to qualify. So congratulations to all the players. Congratulations to Claire and Amy for representing New York City in the final.
Yeah, thank you so much for everyone who put this show on. We'll be, some different casters. I think Pio will be casting tomorrow. Pio and Mike McLeod are probably the likely pair to be casting tomorrow morning. Big thanks to Oscar, who graciously, with his great internet and computer, has actually been hosting the stream while we've been talking, operating the camera, changing the perspectives, following the dealer. So big shout out to Oscar, the unsung hero of our stream tonight. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing how the finale goes tomorrow versus NYC.
And good night to everyone who has followed us. Tune in tomorrow for more Mahjong.
Yeah, signing off. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.
Riichi nya.